to qualify, but it is time, Vivid. We are getting into this game, and I gotta ask, who do you think is going to come out on top?
Listen, we've seen over the first 8 games prior to today, there were a lot of dominant performances out of Bat Sniper and DKS, on Hydra and Kovacs. But listen, Cammy and Seti, like you pointed out, they do such a good job at adapting. They have been playing this game for so long, and they also know each other so very, very well. And I think the last game, really showed how much of a grip that they have got, on the information that they've gathered. And to me, that is scary for the rest of the lobby, because if these guys get rolling, if they do have these very strong, solid strategies that they have developed now based on the experience that they've had over the past couple of days, then they can start doing very, very well. But back over to Coney Crossers, we've seen this action happen before, and Dreda and Trip are actually getting early control of that tank, and Sido and Cry going to be tipping their battle bus over here, opening it up to the shots of the tank. But then Dreda and Tripper, they might be interested in just kind of leaving and being happy with the control of this tank.
Yeah, I don't blame them, right? This is definitely a better strategy than trying to take that early game fight and potentially losing your vehicle. But no, Andretta says, you know what, even though we're escaping and we're dipping away here, we got the tank, but now we need the shots. We need to make sure there's no other opposing vehicles still left in it. So honestly, smart play on their part, because the last couple games that we've watched them, when they land Coney Crossroad, they're obviously focusing the tank, but ultimately they were going down. So it's not like they could actually use the tank effectively to make any kind of plays. So this is smart on their part. They got the tank, they got away, but that leads me to believe they probably don't have too much in the loadout to work with. So they need to be either heavily protecting that tank, or they need to start looting somewhere else.
Yeah, very good point there. Even though you still have that tank, you do need some loot to kind of back that up. Even like a paratorch, definitely some shields to keep you safe, because we've seen it before. Players in that tank do take lots of damage when the opportunity presents itself, so you have to be careful. But we are tuning in over here to Keneal, and listen, we have Refsguard and Elocrats kind of looking in, testing out the area, scoping it out. And Keneal's got to be careful. He is currently a solo. His teammate is very far away. So if Refsguard and Elocrats kind of see where he is at, and they are going to see it, but fortunately for Keneal, he is going to be making that rotation with a truck, so he's going to be safe. And I think Refsguard and Elocrats will probably just back off and go continue to loot elsewhere. But no, they're actually going to push in. And listen, if Keneal kind of wraps back around, right? He already looted this area, so he's like, listen, I already cleared this area. There's nobody here. But Refsguard and Elocrats, they could set up some little trap to surprise Baba Cola. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. And listen, actually, while we were kind of flying in, and I noticed that Anas and Pink, they actually switched up their drop spot. They were landing on the southern side of Condo Canyon.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What a change. Like, what an odd change, too. Obviously, they got to feel comfortable enough landing there, but I'm curious as to, like, what led to that decision, because that is definitely a massive change for them, and it's probably going to, at least for a game or two while they adjust, going to affect the way that they play this out. But looking at the elimination feed just a moment ago, Malibuca picking up some eliminations there, probably out of Cavern, which is a really solid start. But now, here it is. We're actually going to see why Pink and Anas have decided to switch up, and naturally, as expected, this is one reason for sure to switch up your game plan, and it's a tank, because this tank is going to provide so many benefits. It just makes sense to play for it.
Yeah, very good switch up coming from Anas and Pink. Must have done their research, right? Realize that, hey, we can land here. This kind of area is uncontested, but then also to realize that a tank is going unclaimed in these games. So great on their part to pick up on that information. Another duo in this, we talked about Cammy and Seti and how they are good at adapting. They like to do their research, develop some strategies, but another well-vetted duo, Anas and Pink, been together for quite some time now. Also been playing Fortnite individually for a long time, so that their kind of vettedness showing. As we come over here to Unhydra and Naya, though, taking some big damage from Gabix and Shmeki all the way up on this hill.
Yeah, that was definitely a risky play. They stayed there, in my opinion, a little bit too long, right? The first priority should have been to obviously maintain the health of the tank, right? And when those rockets raining in, you definitely don't want that tank to be in any kind of situation where it's going to take damage. So playing off the back of the hill might have been a more effective play, at least a little bit earlier. Fortunately, they are going to be able to get away. They are going to have to use a repair torch a little bit to heal up the tank. But still, they're going to be able to disengage from that fight and stay alive. But here it is, Logjam Lumberyard. We talked about it after a last game where we saw tons and tons of players just in this vicinity. Now, not too many players. Fortunately, it does look like Zone's going to pull away from it as well. So we probably won't see too much going on in that area. However, it's still definitely a spot to pay close attention to. But Noah, over here closer to Chonkers, if you don't know, for those at home, this is actually one of the more significant areas that you can utilize for a heal off strategy. So could we be seeing them focus on the heal off this game? This might be a little different.
You know, they did that one time, and it was very, very cool to see them kind of get that second place. We've saw it done one other time on the EU region. And, you know, you do get some points, but none of these players, I think, are just like, listen, at that second place, you know, it only being worth about like 28 points. Whilst you have teams like Cammy and Seti putting up 65-point games because of the eliminations that they can get, right? Like, such a big difference in what you are, because your maximum, right? If you do that heal off, you're guaranteed a maximum of 28 points. Whereas if you actually play for the end game, you know, you kind of create possibilities to get that victory royale. The possibilities are endless. You know what I mean? Kid talked about 16 elimination games happening. Just saw an 11 elimination one. So, you know, why limit yourself to that low maximum when you can kind of, you know, believe in yourself and actually play for these end games? And as you can see here, the map is developing. A lot of players actually on the west side of the map, and Austin Pink all the way down to the south, still at that Chonkers location.
Yeah, this is an interesting strategy from them. I'm not sure what they're hoping to accomplish or what they're hoping to like pick up maybe on the way, but I feel like maybe their strategy while playing for the tank was good. Maybe they just didn't get the loadout they were hoping for, so maybe they're looking for any kind of scraps they can find in Chonkers. But hey, listen, if there's any area that you can find a ton of heals in, it's going to be that area, so I'm confident they'll make it out of Storm. But for players like Andretta and Triprin, they're still in it. And it doesn't look like they've had to use too many resources here to stay alive, which is a good sign for them.
Yeah, good sign indeed. As we tune in over here to Xerox and Kovacs, they did lose out on that first place position that they were holding for a very long time on the leaderboard, but they still are up there, second place, only 1 point behind. And listen, this loadout is looking very, very good. That repair torch ready to go. The truck with the cow clutcher on the front. And that golden SMG, man, listen, if he gets into those close range fights, he will definitely lay somebody out very, very quickly, which, listen, honestly, I feel like over the course of this tournament, we talked about it a lot. We were talking about the loadouts and how a lot of people like to just carry the rifle and then, you know, pretty much just 4 utility items. But in a lot of these loadouts, Panda, I am seeing a lot of SMGs actually being thrown in the mix.
Yeah, which is, again, it's interesting, right? Obviously, especially the combat SMG is very, very strong this season. However, in a zero build meta, again, most of the fights aren't taking place like right next to each other. It's not like a box fight, right? In your traditional competitive mode, it's very, very different. So I feel like valuing that burst assault rifle is way more important than valuing an SMG. However, I've seen several players now hold 2 SMGs. So maybe there is some kind of strategy to it. Maybe I just haven't personally seen it yet. But for players like Joinville there, they have only a burst assault rifle to their name. So that's also a risk in itself, having only 1 weapon, because realistically, the moment you run out of ammo, you're kind of left struggling.
Yeah, very good point. That ammo topic kind of coming back into play. As we tune in over here, Steno, they have their truck. Listen, a lot of players love to do this. They love to just ram into a building to kind of hide it out, as you saw, you know, happen many, many times. Magically, though, actually making it to the end game with the battle bus. These battle buses, they usually get taken out very, very quickly. I believe the first day of this tournament, you actually asked me, like, you know, what am I taking, a tank or a battle bus? And I didn't like the battle bus because it's such a bigger target and it's way easier for a lot of these players to get an angle on it. So there are a lot more opportunities for it to take damage. And surprisingly enough, the battle bus actually has less total HP than a tank does, and magically is actually going to make that switch over to his truck. And Hellfire and Scram are like, oh look, a battle bus for us.
Hey, listen, if you can find it and take it for free, take it. It's still got a lot of value in itself. And I will say, like, I continue to go back and forth between the tank and the battle bus, right? Obviously, we see a lot more of the tank in games here in Zero Build, but the battle bus still does have quite a bit of value as well. I feel like it's just not fully utilized like the tank is. But regardless, I think if you aren't at a vehicle or you don't have a vehicle at this point, and EU, you need to figure something out. And fortunately, that's why these players have kind of forged their loadouts revolving around the vehicles. Look at Magically, for example. You got a gas tank, you got a repair torch, you got heals. Like that's more of a priority to have in your inventory in a game like this or a game mode like this than realistically anything else.
And look at this, southeastern part of the map, Cammy and Seti, not even in the zone yet, and neither are Anas and Pink. And I believe that both of them probably have a tank. And listen, this right here is showcasing why it is important to stay in the zone. We're seeing Tripper and Andretta, they did get early control of their tank, but now since they're in zone in a bad position, their tank is taking a lot of damage. They do have the repair torch to kind of try to keep it alive. You know, it's just a pressing situation. Whereas like Anas and Pink, as I'm saying this, of course, right, like they're off in the zone, kind of safe. Noah actually finds an elimination onto Anas, so not necessarily as safe as I thought, but you know, to kind of back up my point, keeping the tank in the storm, right, you're kind of away from the rest of the players, so typically you'll be able to like save the HP of your vehicle. As you can see, they're using their car as a little bit of a submarine of sorts.
Oh man, and that might have been a misplay on their part. I don't know if they were thinking that because they went off the hill it would still just kind of float for a little bit, but no, when you have that forward momentum going straight down, your car's going down with you. It's not going to come back up and guide you across. Yep. So unfortunately, they're going to potentially lose their vehicle there. But man, looking at this right here where Hydra is rotating through, this is risky. There are so many players around here. But surprisingly enough, like we talked about before, they really aren't like focusing one another yet, of course. Obviously, that'll change here as the zone continues to close forward. But as of right now, there's not too much pressure to the players that are kind of surrounding this area. So it'll be interesting to see the way this plays out, but this is definitely going to be a crazy zone. Sleepy Sound could be the coverage and the only coverage that these players have going into the end game.
And as you can see, a lot of these vehicles are like driving around, trying to find a building that they can use to either like one, hide themselves, two, hide their vehicle. Because as we're seeing right here, EMX is just, you know, trying to persuade these vehicles to go elsewhere so that way they can maintain their area and stay safe. And again, Nikov doing the same thing, just laying down a couple shots, being okay, listen, I do not want you here, I am here, like please go somewhere else. So a lot of these teams that are already established around these buildings will be able to control their areas very, very well. And for a lot of these vehicles that are rotated in, like Gabix here, you know, they're not the safest players in these vehicles anymore because so many players are already set up in Sleepy Sound. So maybe playing the edge zone in your vehicles is potentially a smarter decision. And as you can see, listen, your pick, DKS Bad Sniper, off to the side, not pressuring any of these teams that are already set up.
Yeah, and that's what you love to see, right? You love to see just a little bit more patience, right? Obviously, it's not something we've seen typically with some of the more aggressive players like Vidil and O'Reilly, but the patience seems to be paying off for most of these players, especially for Bad Sniper and DKS. They continue to survive to the later parts of the game. While they might not be winning every game, they're still doing a good job of staying alive. But on the opposite end of that, it looks like Seti has gone down to Pink, and Andretta going down to Malibuca, and now Murstache taking out Andretta's duo. So this is a tough game for them. Another game where they're going to go down before their time, and they're going to have to figure something out in the remainder of these games if they want to be successful here in the remainder of this tournament.
Yeah, cool to see Malibuca making it into the endgame, and Pink actually picking up another 2 eliminations. You just mentioned that he took out Seti, but another 2 eliminations, and I'm pretty sure during that fight, I thought that Anas had gone down, so it'll be interesting to see if he's still, like, revivable or if he's actually still up, and I am just misinformed in that category, but nonetheless, you know, picking up those eliminations, thinking Anas off on the distance over there, yeah, both of them are actually up, so apologies for that, but, you know, playing that edge zone like we just talked about, it's way better than kind of being in the middle here. Now, you do gotta create a nice rotation for yourself, because if you are playing that edge zone, typically you will have to make a rotation, which can be a little scary if you do have to rotate towards a place like Sleepy Sound where a lot of these teams are already set up.
Yeah, set up and set up for success, right? These teams are positioning themselves in a way that they could really come out on top. But for Unhydra, you got to be careful, right? I see the play that they're going for, but this is very risky. There could be a lot of teams rotating in the same direction, as we're seeing actually unfold now. And there's a lot of unanswered questions, right? If they stay on this side of the water and it pulls to the other side, unfortunately, they're going to have a huge target on their head as they try to rotate later on. So they definitely need to be careful with the way that they're holding on. But for Kira and Blaster, their changeup of Command Cavern definitely is working out in their favor, because, as I say, that they're starting to go down, but they at least survived this long.
No way, Blast. That last second shockwave to shave him, very well played there, and he kind of finds himself into a comfortable position. But no, I think there's actually players underneath of that dock. Yeah, Jacob, look at him. Oh, man. Oh, no way. Kira actually makes himself down towards Blast. He might be able to actually get the revive here, which would be really, really crazy. You can tune into Nikov and Analyx. They've been holding down this building for quite some time. And listen, Panda, whilst you were talking about Unhydra there, I was looking at the elimination feed, and Pink actually picked up another, like, 2 eliminations. So a running count now of at least, I believe, 5 for Pink and Anas.
5. That, and look, we saw them obviously take a game win yesterday, right? Or not yesterday, the day before. Now we see them here trying to make their way back up to the top. But honestly, if there's a game that they could win, it's probably this one. Their loadouts were really, really solid. They're already getting a ton of eliminations, doing a lot of damage. But now we got to talk about what's happening right here, because like I just said moments ago, Unhydra and Naiad were in a really compromised spot here, with the zone beginning to pull away. But fortunately, that Riftigo has saved them and also kidnapped that tank up in the air. So that could potentially do some serious damage there to the tank. And it does look like it's actually going to force the players out of the tank and cause them to push away. And here it is, Nas and Pink. We see 6 eliminations on the board. And the reason for it? Tanks.
Yes, I love that position. Look at all these teams in the center of the map here fighting over this building. Unhydra driving around in the car. Naiad actually staying alive. Ekov goes down. I believe Analyx actually went up into the sky as Refguard in the elimination feed picks up DKS. So Bad Sniper left to do it. Jacob still down here in the water. Get some early shots on. No, the Rift to go. Saves Bad Sniper right there. And Jacob, even though he only has 40 HP, he's kind of in a safe position as long as nobody realizes him. As Hellfire hops into the vehicle, Naiad and Unhydra picking up an Elim on Scram, and yet there goes Hellfire. Wow, kind of delivered some loot there for Unhydra and Naiad, as they have a total of 4 elimination. And Jacob finally, even the spot underneath the dock, is in the car. Does Unhydra know that he's in there? No, Refguard goes down. And Panda, there's so much going on.
There's too much to even keep track of. Players are dropping left and right. This zone is completely open. And honestly, there's only maybe one other vehicle, and it might be like a taxi. So Nas and Pink are definitely in the best position to win this. But as I say that, it's Xerox not getting the knock there onto it. Nas, that is huge there for them. Bad Sniper and Jeron find themselves in the air as solo players. Now it's going to come down to this. Will they be able to pick up Pink? And they do. Pink and the Nas are out. Xerox is knocked, however, so his teammate in Kovacs is definitely going to need to get him up fast, because Jacob still in this game. Jeron in the air, and I believe Bad Sniper is getting ready to touch down here in a moment. So Kovacs is going to have to do something, and it looks like he's not going to be able to pick up his teammate. He's going to have to focus on Bad Sniper landing here, but now it's up to him, and I think Bad Sniper, oh, no heals in the inventory. So this is going to be rough, but now Kovacs is down. It is up to Jaron. It is a 1v1. Bad Sniper versus Jaron. And who will come out on top? The shots raining in. Jaron, 1 HP. He's got the shockwaves. He's trying to send Bad Sniper into the storm. It's not going to work. Bad Sniper walking away with the victory royale. 3 eliminations. Look, I'm not going to say they did this because I picked them, right? But, you know, my prediction coming through clutch today. I'll take it. I just want I want to see them make it to that major LAN event later this year, because if any team truly deserves it from the performance they've put on, it's them.
Yeah, Bad Sniper DKS with that victory round. But listen, can't wait to see the match standings, because Xerox and Kovacs, they had 12 eliminations before going down. So I'm pretty sure they actually got the most points in the lobby. And then